This building is seriously magnificent. Ooh, so this is really fun.
You are currently performing to an audience of 1 in a stadium of 25,000.
Okay, honest thoughts on Pamukkale. This is going to be a very unpopular opinion.
Welcome to Waypoint of View. We're Jessa Miles and we're 2 years into our journey around the world. After leaving Cappadocia behind, we spent a few days making our way along the beautiful Mediterranean coast. It's been an incredible road trip here in Turkey so far, and we're not quite done yet.
Sadly, our time in Turkey is coming to an end, but there are still 2 more really big things that we have to check out before we leave. And these last couple of places are arguably some of the most popular in all of Turkey.
We're getting started this morning at the ancient city of Ephesus. It's about 7:45 and we think the gate opens at 8. We got here early in hopes to beat the crowds, and I think it's working so far. We're the only ones here, except for our dogs.
Our dogs. There aren't even any employees here yet, so got a few minutes to wait.
Hopefully it opens at 8.
Actually, we heard some pretty mixed reviews about the opening time. Somebody said 7:30, somebody said 8.
Somebody
read
said
8:30.
after October 1st, it's
9.
actually 8:30.
And then
Somebody did say 9, so we could be here a while.
it's 8:15, and the vendors who have now showed up have confirmed that even though the sign says 8, they don't open till 8:30. But we have lots of cats to keep us entertained. We're in! It's 8:32. I have no idea when the opening time goes from 8 to 8:30, but today is October the 20th, and it opened at 8:30.
Also, we thought we were at the lower gate, the main gate. We're not. We're at the upper gate. But
we're the only ones here.
Ephesus was an ancient port city on the Aegean Sea that dates back somewhere around 3,000 years ago to the ancient Greek times, but it was at its peak about 2,000 years ago during the Roman times. So most of the ruins we're going to see here today are from the Romans.
Ephesus was the second largest city in the Roman Empire, exceeded only by Rome itself. That is crazy. We are here on the main street. Check this place out. It's 9:10 and we have just come up on our first tour group. But this library is amazing. Oh my gosh. This building is seriously magnificent.
This is too cool. You are currently performing to an audience of 1 in a stadium of 25,000. There's seriously no one in here. There's a cat rummaging through our bag.
So our strategy this morning was to make our way from one end of Ephesus to the other as quickly as possible and take as many pictures as we could before the crowds got here.
And it worked.
And it worked!
We saw the library all by ourselves. We even got the entire theater of 25,000 people completely to ourselves. I may or may not have done a rendition of Prinderella.
He sure did. Probably gonna have to stick around till the end in the bloopers section for that one.
And now we're headed up to the top and we're gonna work our way back through doing an audio tour to learn a few things, and maybe we'll share along the way.
It's estimated around 250,000 people lived here at Ephesus at its peak, and only a small, very small percentage of this city has been excavated at this point. I think it's somewhere between 10 and 20%. So there is still so much left here that has not been uncovered yet. That really is unbelievable.
Walking through here right on the main street and looking up at the two hills to the side, you can really imagine how spread out this city used to be.
Right here at the upper entrance, this is the Agora?
The State Agora.
The State Agora.
Like a marketplace.
So like a marketplace. And right at the front, they actually have a pile of clay pipes. So this city, 2,000 years ago, had plumbing. I guess there were 4 aqueducts that brought water in to the fountains and to some of the private homes. It's just pretty mind-blowing.
Okay.
2,000 years ago, running water. We've just been making our way back down through a very busy city, listening to the audio tour, and we just learned something that is pretty darn cool. So right here behind me is a public fountain, Trajan's Fountain, and what's really, really cool about it is there is a statue, or what's left of a statue, of a foot on an orb, and the inscription reads, "Trajan rules the world." So it is believed that the Romans just assumed the world was round. So ahead of their time. I think it took the rest of us a lot longer to figure that out. But up next is probably the most iconic building that at least remains today in Ephesus. I can already tell you it's my favorite one since we've obviously already walked through here one time.
The library!
The library! Oh, wait, where are the baths? Okay, maybe the library is not next. We think that we have just passed the bathhouses and the public toilets, which obviously we have to see that. So the library will wait. Here they are.
So this bathroom had room for 40. Not a lot of privacy.
Also, these toilets are really close together. I mean, it's one thing to not have walls, but I feel like you would literally be touching the leg of the person next to you.
If this was an American bathroom, for sure,
Yeah, that's true.
thighs would be touched.
Maybe the Romans were smaller. But look at that. It's like a foot, maybe 18 inches in between.
But you're sitting on marble.
Only the best for the Romans. So the wealthier people apparently had private bathrooms in their homes, but for those who didn't, this is where they came. I read that it was quite the social event. Okay, we have made it back to the library, and this is definitely my favorite building in all of Ephesus.
So we learned that the columns at the top are smaller than the columns at the bottom to make it look bigger than it really
Yeah, I
is.
forgot about that.
Also, this was the 3rd largest library in the ancient world.
After Alexandria in Egypt, and what was the one here in Turkey? There's a second one here in Turkey that is bigger, but 3rd largest right here. It held 12,000 scrolls.
And what were scrolls made out of?
Ooh, so this is really fun. Okay, so at the time they were making scrolls out of papyrus that they had gotten from Egypt. But then Egypt, I guess, was getting a little jealous that the library was getting so big, so it stopped providing them with papyrus, and then the Romans, in turn,
They invented parchment paper, and then they bound it into what we now call books.
Books invented
Right
here. Right here.
That's really cool.
That is really cool.
Everyone tells you about that if they've made a video of this place.
But
you can't.
I know.
That's pretty cool.
It is. And this honestly is the most stunning building here.
By a long way.
Yeah, the detail is absolutely incredible. We mentioned earlier that Ephesus was actually a port city, and the Aegean Sea came all the way up to the city, and the street behind us is Harbor Street that led out to the harbor. And now, what's so crazy is the Aegean Sea is like 6 miles away. Something about silt.
Yeah, the river that flowed through here dumped a bunch of silt in the harbor over the years, filling it in, which is why we're walking through ruins instead of a major metropolitan city like Istanbul. Which brings us to our last ruins of the day.
The theater. So there were 250,000 people estimated to have lived in Ephesus. And something really fun that we learned is that the way archaeologists actually come up with that number is they take the capacity of the amphitheater, this one's 25,000, times by 10, 250,000.
So the theaters would hold 10% of the population.
How about that? Oh wow, this is really cool in here.
As a returning performer to the theater, I know the back way.
25,000.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's currently under construction, so you can't get all the way up to the top, but you can get about maybe a little more than halfway.
I think that'll do it for us.
That concludes our Ephesus tour. I hope we didn't bore you too bad or misstate too many things.
I'm sure we misstated a few things.
Actually, in all honesty, I was trying to do some research on this place last night, and there is a lot of varying information.
It's a cool place.
Yeah, it is. I really like the library. Yes, please. Good morning. So yesterday we drove about 2.5 hours from Ephesus to the famous site of Pamukkale.
It is an early morning. The sun is not even up yet.
But we are heading down now to check out the Cotton Castle.
I don't think the sun's coming up for at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're pretty confident you can't see our faces.
Sorry about that. Pamukkale literally translates to Cotton Castle in Turkish.
Perfect name. The entire hillside here is completely covered with these stark white travertine terraces.
Filled with ice blue mineral water. Ice blue meaning the color. The water is actually hot. And as a bonus, they're hot air balloons.
'Cause why not? Honestly, I think this entire hillside used to be completely covered in these really shallow pools. Now they redirect the water to a series of, looks like 10 or 12 pools, but it's still really cool.
Yeah.
All of this used to have water flowing over it, but now they have redirected the water into these pools. It honestly seems like with the way they've redirected the water that only 3 or 4 of these pools actually has hot water in them. And even with that, by the time you walk about, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet into the pool, it gets pretty cold. Is that hot?
It's like lukewarm. Feels nice. Okay, honest thoughts on Pamukkale. This is going to be a very unpopular opinion. I think, based on what I have seen and read and old photos, I think that this place used to be absolutely amazing. It was covered with water and all of these pools. And then however many years ago, I think that they ran into a very big problem with over-tourism. I think that they managed it the best that they possibly could, redirecting the water, creating this one line of pools that they allow the tourists to swim in. And then otherwise everything is dried up and blocked off. Literally, you can see that these used to have water in them and there's no water, no water. I mean, how amazing would this place be? And I guess that's maybe a big piece of it, is that you can picture just how amazing it could be. And it's really cool, don't get me wrong, it's very cool. And if your route takes you nearby here, I would say it's worth a visit. But to me, this is not a must-visit spot, and this is not a significantly come out of your way to visit. But there are ruins here that are supposed to be really, really cool, so we're gonna go check those out.
The ruins that we're headed to date all the way back to the ancient Greek times when they built what was essentially a resort town on top of this hill to take advantage of the hot springs. Then the Romans expanded on it, and so have we.
I had read that this is the single most visited site in all of Turkey.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe it.
This theater is amazing. Seriously, I have not seen the amount of detail in a theater like this one has.
The backdrop has a ton of marble.
And all this carved detail, it's so beautiful. I had read, well, I think I remember reading that this is one of the best preserved ancient Roman theaters. And I would believe that.
I would too.
And then you have the Pamukkale terraces just right there. a nice view from up here.
It really is.
There's still some balloons off in the distance. We got a hang glider now.
Oh.
All right, I think that's gonna do it for us.
It's time to head back to Istanbul.
That's a lot of buses.
In all of our road trip, I really only have one complaint, but it's a big one. Why would you put in roundabouts all over the place, but then add 18 stoplights to every roundabout?
Why, Turkey? Why?
Missed my turn. Got a little too emotional. In my family, we all have to do a talent on Thanksgiving. We probably won't post this video until after Thanksgiving anyway. And by probably, I mean definitely. But nevertheless, the Roman version of Prinderella coming right up.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present you one Miles Volin Tonkinson performing Prinderella.
Once upon a while, gong gong alo, there lived this gritty little pearl named Prinderella. Quiet down, quiet down. But poor Prinderella, she had no fancy. Only this thing she was wearing, this burning egg.
Oh no.
So off she went to the corner, and she went to
To the beers.
Prinderella, in a sense, lived happily ever after.